Before the ancient world was carved into memory, before the first scroll was written, before the names of cities were etched into stone, there was only water and the endless hush of the world's earliest tides. It is said that the ocean remembers everything, that beneath its shifting surface lie stories older than land, older than kings, older than the rise and fall of empires. Among those stories, whispered from one generation to the next, carried by sailors, poets, and wandering philosophers, one shines brighter, deeper, more mysterious than the rest. The story of Atlantis, a city of rings, a city of light, a city built on wisdom, beauty, and impossible knowledge, a world that rose from the sea and returned to it. Tonight you drift slowly toward that forgotten world, not through maps or logic, but through something older, memory, dream, and the quiet pull of the ocean itself. Listen to the hush of the waves, soft and unhurried, like the breathing of an ancient being still half asleep. Let the sound settle your thoughts the way the tide smooths sand upon the shore. Your breathing slows, your shoulders release their weight. Your mind becomes like the surface of calm water, soft, open, and ready to receive an old, gentle story. In the beginning, Atlantis was not a myth. It was not a warning. It was not a puzzle for scholars to debate. It was a home, a living place, a world of gardens, stone temples, bright waterways, and warm sun rising over quiet harbors. The oldest tellers said that the city did not simply appear. It grew, like coral building a reef, like the moon pulling the tides, like wisdom gathering over generations. And as you listen, as your breathing settles into a slow, steady rhythm, that ancient city begins to shimmer faintly in the distance, not in the world outside, but in the soft inner world beneath your eyelids. You drift closer to it with every breath, not rushing, never forcing, just letting the story draw you in the way the tide carries a drifting boat. The ocean's low drone hums beneath the waves, deep, steady, ancient, a sound that seems to vibrate through the bones of the world. It is the same sound sailors heard when they crossed unknown seas, the same sound that echoed through the harbors of forgotten islands, the same sound that, once upon a time, welcomed travelers approaching Atlantis. Soft chimes ring far away, not loud, not sharp, just faint echoes carried on a warm breeze. Temple bells, a signal of peace, not alarm, a sound of evening rituals, of quiet prayers whispered at dusk. You let those sounds settle around you. Let them become the ground beneath the story. Let them loosen the last pieces of the day that still cling to you. There is nothing left you need to do tonight. No decisions to make, no weight to hold. All that matters is that you are here, floating gently toward a world lost to time, but never lost to memory. Now, imagine the surface of the sea at night, not dark, but shimmering beneath a soft moon. The water is smooth and warm, glowing faintly with pale silver light. Clouds drift lazily across the sky, moving with the same rhythm as your breath. The air smells of salt and distant rain, clean and ancient. And far out in that silver-blue distance, something begins to rise. Not suddenly, not dramatically, as softly as a thought forming, as gently as a dream revealed. At first it looks like a mirage, circles of faint gold light layered one inside another. But as you drift closer, the circles sharpen into shape. Rings, enormous rings of land and water, perfect, harmonious, impossibly smooth. 3 rings of ocean, 3 rings of shining stone. A pattern older than geometry, as if the island itself was designed by the earth in a moment of deep calm. This is Atlantis, not swallowed by storm, not broken by catastrophe, not yet. Tonight you see it in its quietest hour, the hour before dawn, when the city breathes softly in its sleep, when the last lanterns fade in the streets and the first birds stir in distant gardens. You drift closer. The rings broaden. Golden light glimmers like sleep-warm embers, and as you watch, a gentle thought enters the story. You are not merely observing Atlantis, you are arriving. Your boat moves without effort. The oars rest still. The current guides you. The soft drone beneath the waves deepens, a low, steady vibration like the heartbeat of the world. With every moment, the city grows clearer. Shining canals reflecting the moon, bridges arching gracefully over quiet waters, temples carved from pale stone, their columns wrapped in soft gold light, gardens lush with plants that glow faintly in the night, silver leaves, blue flowers that open only at dusk, trees that sway gently as if responding to the breath of the sea. And above it all, a great hill crowned by a vast temple, its walls shimmering like polished shell, its pillars rising high into the quiet night air. The Temple of Poseidon, the heart of Atlantis, the place where every story begins and where every story returns. Your boat drifts through the outer water ring, the soft moonlight brushing your skin with warmth. No guards call out. No citizens stir. The city sleeps, trusting in its peace, unaware of the future that history will eventually speak of. But tonight, none of that matters. Tonight, you have come at the perfect moment, the stillness before dawn, the breath before awakening. And as your boat glides towards the second ring, something shifts gently in the air. A voice, not loud, not startling. A calm, low whisper carried on the breeze, speaking a language older than memory. It does not frighten you. It soothes you, like the voice of an ancient storyteller who has just begun to recognize you. The voice does not call your name. It simply welcomes your presence, as if Atlantis has been waiting, quietly, patiently, for you to return. Your breath deepens, your body softens, your mind sinks deeper into calm. You let go of the day completely now, like a garment slipping from your shoulders and dissolving into the sea. Here, in this quiet space between story and dream, Atlantis rises fully around you, a world forgotten by history, remembered only by the ocean and by you. And so, gently, with the city waiting ahead, the boat gliding silently through luminous water, and the soft chimes echoing through the dawn-faded night, the story begins. Long after Atlantis had sunk beneath the weight of centuries, long after its harbors had fallen silent, its name did not vanish completely. It sank, yes, but not into nothing. It settled instead into the deepest places of memory, where stories drift slowly, waiting for the right voices to draw them back towards the surface. In another age, under another sky, far from the sleeping island of rings, a different shore met the sea. Here, the waves of the Mediterranean kissed warm stone harbors, and white-sailed ships rested at anchor beneath a pale, watchful sun. The city was Athens, its air alive with questions, its streets echoing with arguments, laughter, and quiet thought, its scholars searching not only the heavens above, but the buried stories of the earth below. Among them lived a man whose name would echo through time. A philosopher, quiet and sharp, whose mind loved order and pattern, like a sculptor loves the feel of stone. Plato. In his lifetime, the world he knew was already old with stories, old wars, old gods, old ruins on distant coasts that no one could clearly explain. But some tales were older still, spoken quietly in shaded rooms, shared between those who listened for the softest threads of the past. One such thread came from another man, a traveller of minds and lands, a lawgiver named Solon. Solon had gone where few Athenians went, far along the curve of the sea, past familiar islands, past trading ports with their noise and colour, to the great river that flowed like a patient serpent through the heart of an ancient kingdom. Egypt. There, beneath towering columns and carved stone, staring with timeless eyes, he had walked into cool temples whose floors had felt the hush of 1,000 sandals long before his own. High painted ceilings, blue and gold, stars, symbols older than his language. And in those halls, in rooms that smelled faintly of incense and papyrus, he met men who called themselves keepers of memory. Priests, not in the sense of shouting, not in the sense of loud rituals, but in the sense of quiet guardianship. Men who tended the flames of stories so old that even their edges had become soft. Solon had listened. He had listened to tales of floods and fires, of kingdoms that rose and fell like the levels of the river, of stars watched for so long that their slow, silent shifts became part of the language of the land. And in the dim light of one particular chamber, as dust motes turned lazily in a beam of sun that slipped through a narrow opening, an elder priest had smiled at him with the patient kindness of one who has seen many seekers come and go. "Greeks," the priest had said quietly, in a voice like worn stone. "You are children." He did not mean it as an insult. He meant that their memory, their written record of the past, did not reach as far back as they believed. Solon, curious and unoffended, had asked what the priest meant. Slowly, like a story that had waited long to be told, the priest spoke of cycles, of fires from the sky, of water that rose beyond its banks, of ages of man that had come and gone, leaving only faint traces behind. And then, in the softest tone, he mentioned a name that would ripple through time, across oceans of centuries, to the mind of Plato, and eventually, to you, listening now. Atlantis, a great island power beyond the pillars of Heracles, beyond the straits that narrow the sea and open it again onto vast, dark waters. An empire of ships and wisdom, of temples and shining stone, of kings who ruled in balance for a time. An island that, in a single terrible day and night, was said to have sunk beneath the sea and vanished from the maps of men. Solon had listened as the priest pointed to worn, faint inscriptions. Records older than Greece itself, older than the stories of Troy, older than many gods whose names would later fill the poems of the world. He learned dates, measured in cycles his own people did not yet use. He heard of earthquakes, of the sea rising up, of a city whose greatness did not protect it from the weight of its own choices. He had wanted to bring the story back to Athens, to turn it into a poem, a long work that would weave the fate of Atlantis into the fabric of Greek song. But life, with its tides of duty and unrest, pulled him in many directions. The poem was never completed. The full story, with its layers of meaning and myth, remained like a partly carved statue, the shape visible, the details waiting. Yet Solon did not keep the tale only to himself. He carried it home in memory, and in quiet moments, with friends and family gathered in shaded courtyards and lamplit rooms, he spoke of the lost island in the western sea. There, in one such room, with a warm evening breeze moving gently through open doorways, a much younger man sat listening. He was not yet famous. His thoughts had not yet been turned into dialogues, his name not yet etched into the foundations of Western thought. He was simply another listener, soaking in the currents of story. His name was Critias. Critias would one day repeat the story to another attentive mind, Plato, the philosopher. You can imagine him there now, in a quiet Athenian house, stone floors cool beneath the night air, oil lamps burning with small golden flames. Outside, the city hums faintly. Distant voices, soft footsteps in narrow streets, the clink of pottery from a nearby home. Inside, the room is smaller, the world reduced to a circle of light, shadows moving gently along the walls as the lamp flame shifts. Critias speaks in the low, measured tone of someone balancing respect and wonder. He tells Plato how Solon once traveled south to Egypt, how the old priests welcomed him and unfolded before him a vision of time far deeper than anything the Greeks had written. He repeats the words about Greeks being young in soul, about their stories beginning after older cycles had already turned and faded. And then, in that lamp-lit circle, the name of Atlantis is spoken again, not as a wild legend, not as a drunken sailor's tale, but as something recorded, remembered, preserved. Plato listens. He is a man who weighs things carefully. He does not simply accept everything he hears, but neither does he turn away from what stirs his imagination. Atlantis becomes, in his mind, both story and structure, a way to speak about the rise and fall of cities, about justice and imbalance, about the fragility of power. And so in his dialogues, in Timaeus and Critias, he plants the seed of the tale in the soil of written thought. He speaks of an island larger than Libya and Asia Minor combined, beyond the pillars, rich in metals and life, blessed by Poseidon, divided into 10 regions ruled by 10 kings. He speaks of canals and walls, temples and harbors, and a people who, for a time, lived in balance with the gifts they had been given. As Plato writes, he is not thinking of YouTube, of screens, of a distant listener lying in bed thousands of years later. He is simply joining a chain, one that began in Egyptian temples, that passed through the memory of Solon, through the voice of Critias, and into his own hand, and from his hand into the currents of history. Centuries pass, empires rise and fall, languages change, libraries burn, new faiths spread, maps are redrawn. Yet somehow the name Atlantis continues to float just beneath the surface of human thought. Not constant, not always clear, but never completely gone. Poets pick it up, travelers whisper it, philosophers debate it, explorers dream of finding it. And now, here in the quiet of your room, with the soft echo of imagined waves and the low hum of ancient drones beneath the story, you have picked up that same thread. You are lying where you are, eyes heavy, breath slow, and yet you are also there, in that long chain of listeners. Solon hearing the priest, Critias hearing Solon, Plato hearing Critias, you hearing the story now. The source of Atlantis is not one place, it is not one scroll, it is not one voice, it is a convergence of memory, myth, history, and the quiet human wish to remember a world that was more harmonious, more luminous, more mysterious than our own. The Egyptian priest in that cool, painted hall grew old and passed on. Solon grew old and passed on. Critias, Plato, all the bodies that carried the story returned to dust. But stories do not lie in the ground in the same way. They are carried onward, in ink, in breath, in sound, in the hush of a listener's mind accepting them like gentle rain. Tonight, you are that listener. You are the newest keeper in a long line of quiet keepers. You do not have to memorize dates. You do not have to debate the details. Your only task is to receive the story softly and let it drift into your dreams. Atlantis, for you, is not a puzzle to solve. It is a place to visit for a while, a harbor of calm in the wide ocean of sleep. As the last echoes of Plato's world fade into the background of the tale, the soft focus of the story returns to the sea. The Mediterranean night dims. Athens recedes. The lamps are blown out one by one. And once again, you are on the water. The sky above you is wider than any temple. Stars scatter like ancient symbols across a vast, dark scroll. The boat beneath you moves with the gentlest motion, almost unnoticeable. The same motion as your chest rising and falling. Ahead, past the horizon of memory, Atlantis waits. Not as a question this time, but as an experience. You have heard how its name traveled through worlds. Now, in the chapters to come, you will drift into the city itself. Slowly, softly, as if returning to a place your soul has always known. And as you breathe, and the sound of distant temple chimes fades into the soft rush of waves, you feel the story deepen its hold. Not like a weight, but like a warm, gentle blanket. You are safe. You are carried. You are drifting toward a lost world that has waited quietly for your arrival. Sleep begins to brush the edges of your thoughts, featherlight as the boat glides soundlessly through the calm, ancient sea. Atlantis lies ahead, and you are ready to see it. The sea stretches endlessly beneath you, a smooth, silver-blue canvas without beginning or end. Night has softened into the faintest pre-dawn glow, a subtle light that does not disturb the sky, but gently outlines the curve of the horizon. Your small boat moves not with effort, but with acceptance, as if the ocean itself has taken the role of guide, gliding you forward with the quiet assurance of something ancient that knows the way. The water here feels older than any you have known, not dangerous, not wild, just old, like a memory the world carries beneath its surface. The rhythm of the waves is slow, a calm that folds itself around your breathing until the rise and fall of the water mirrors the rise and fall of your chest. In this soft half-light, you feel neither awake nor asleep. You drift in that rare space between worlds, the realm where dreams begin, but consciousness still lingers gently at the edges. There is no rush, no need for direction. The boat knows its path, the sea knows its story, and you simply drift. The low, ancient drone beneath the waves continues its soft hum, vibrating like a thread pulled from the beginning of time. It is not a sound you hear with your ears, but one you feel through your bones, a deep, warm resonance that settles your entire body into calm. Above, the last few stars shimmer faintly. Each one appears like a small reminder of forgotten ages, of travelers who once navigated by celestial memory. Long ago, sailors spoke of a sea beyond the known world, a sea where the water felt heavier, wiser, more deeply connected to the hidden pulse of the earth. This is that sea. As you drift farther from the familiar shores, the air grows warmer, filled with a faint mineral scent that carries whispers of volcanic rock and distant tropical forests. It is the scent of the world as it once was. When continents were younger, when the first civilizations rose along river valleys, and when Atlantis stood radiant and whole at the edge of the world's imagination. The boat glides forward effortlessly through water so clear that you can see faint glimmers beneath the surface. Not fish, not plants, but something subtler. Shimmers of pale, bioluminescent dust dancing gently like silver falling snow. In ancient stories, this luminous water was called the Trail of the Ancients. the last echo of the energy that once flowed through the crystal harbors of Atlantis. You watch the glow drift beneath you, curling in soft spirals, rising and falling like quiet breaths exhaled by the sea itself. The world around you becomes quieter still. No birds, no wind, only the soft hush of the sea and the faint, distant ringing of temple chimes carried by memory more than by air. Something changes in the horizon, barely noticeable at first, a thin, delicate line where sea and sky meet with a new sense of purpose. A warmth begins to spread in the low eastern sky. Not sunrise, not yet, but the gentle blooming of light that signals dawn's approach. The entire sea responds, as if awakening with you. The water brightens subtly, rippling with gold-tinged reflections that move like soft threads woven by an unseen hand. The atmosphere here feels almost sacred. You sense that you are entering a place that has been protected by time, hidden beneath layers of story and silence, waiting for those who approach with calmness in their hearts. Suddenly, the faint outline of land appears ahead. Not sharp, not dramatic. A whisper of form, a smooth curve rising from the water, bathed in the softest blue-grey light. But it is not just land. You notice shapes beyond it, circles, perfect rings, layer upon layer, expanding outward like ripples frozen in motion. The rings shimmer faintly, catching the first hints of dawn. Your breath deepens, the moment slow and gentle, like sinking into a deeper layer of dreaming. As your boat draws closer, you see that the rings are not merely land. They are channels of water carved with precision you have never seen before. 3 bright water rings, mirroring 3 rings of shining stone, each linked by smooth bridges that arch like the calm backs of resting creatures. The sea between the rings is unnaturally still, a mirror reflecting the world above with such clarity that the boats floating there appear to hover between 2 skies. This is the outer circle of Atlantis, the harbor where sailors once arrived from lands far beyond the horizon. In ancient tellings, this harbor was known as the Quiet Gate, a place where the sea slowed its heartbeat and welcomed travelers with a calm no storm could disturb. You drift into this quiet gate now. The water beneath your boat turns crystal clear, revealing stone paths laid beneath the surface like veins of pale gold. Soft morning light touches the tops of the bridges, and the white stone glows faintly, as if still warm from yesterday's sun. The drone beneath the waves deepens slightly, as though you have crossed an unseen threshold, a boundary between the world you came from and the world you are entering. There is no movement yet on the bridges. Atlantis sleeps. The city rests in that delicate moment before dawn fully opens its eyes. You drift through the first ring and into the second. Here the water grows even calmer, as if wrapped by invisible arms. The silence takes on a new texture, soft, thick, nurturing. Above you, birds begin to stir, letting out faint, melodic calls that echo around the curved stone walls. The sound is not like any bird call you know. It is slower, deeper, almost choral, as though the birds of this island have learned to match their rhythm to the ancient pulse of the place. As you enter the second ring of water, the first hints of life appear. A barge drifts slowly along a canal, its lantern glowing faintly gold. The person guiding it moves with unhurried grace, as if time itself flows more gently here. You drift past them. They glance towards you with calm recognition. Not surprise, not curiosity, but the quiet acknowledgement one gives to a returning traveler. Whether they know you or simply feel that you belong, the moment settles into you like warm light. Your boat glides toward the innermost circle now, toward the heart of Atlantis. And as you draw nearer, the city begins to rise around you. Slender towers of white stone stand like candle flames in the early light. Terraces layered with gardens overflow with blue and silver leaves that shimmer as though each one holds a piece of dawn itself. The air grows warm and fragrant, a blend of water, stone, and the faint scent of blossoming trees you cannot yet name. You close your eyes briefly and feel the deep calm of the place slip into your chest, easing your breath, loosening anything within you that remains tight or restless. Atlantis is no longer a mirage, no longer a fading legend. It is here. It is real within the dream. It surrounds you in quiet welcome. You open your eyes, and through the last water ring, you see it clearly. The sacred hill, the great temple, the heart of the lost world. Your journey over the ancient sea is complete. Now you drift slowly into the city itself. Atlantis awaits your footsteps. The boat glides forward until it touches the edge of the innermost water ring, a quiet, shimmering mirror that reflects the rising light of dawn with a softness that feels almost unreal. Here, the world is quieter than any place you have known. Not silent, Atlantis does not sleep in silence, but quiet in the way a deep forest is quiet, or a sacred temple before morning prayers, alive, breathing, waiting. The ring of stone that curves around you glows with the first hint of golden sunlight, as if the very surface of the island remembers the warmth of 1,000 lost dawns. You lift your gaze, and finally you see the full shape of Atlantis rising before you. 3 great concentric terraces climb gently upward, each carved from pale stone and lined with archways, gardens, fountains, and long corridors that shimmer faintly with the morning's soft, gold-touched air. The architecture seems impossibly precise, as though each stone was placed not by labor, but by intention. The curves are flawless, the symmetry calming, the proportions so balanced that simply looking at them loosened something in your mind, as if the city was designed to quiet the human spirit. This is your first full sight of the Golden Isle, Atlantis in its untouched beauty, Atlantis before memory faded, Atlantis before fear, before stories, before loss, a world so harmonious it seems like an extension of the Earth's own heartbeat. The sun breaks gently above the horizon, its light slipping between the terraces and igniting the city in slow, warm waves. The white stone becomes gold. The gold becomes rose. The rose softens into a pale glow that washes over the entire island like a blessing whispered to the wind. The effect is dreamlike, but not because your eyes deceive you. It is dreamlike because the place itself was shaped to feel this way. The Atlanteans built their city to hold light, to reflect it, to guide it through the curves of their architecture in ways that nourished the soul. Light here is not harsh. It does not blind. It cradles the edges of the world the way water cradles a drifting leaf. As the sun ascends a little more, shadows begin to form. Long, delicate shapes that slide across the stone and reach toward the sea. Small movements appear along the terraces. A gardener kneeling among tall, silver-leafed plants that shimmer like morning frost. A pair of children walking barefoot along a low stone wall, their laughter soft and light, carried by the warm breeze like a distant melody. Farther up, near the great temple, the figures of priests slowly emerge, their robes flowing in gentle folds, the color of deep sand and soft white clay. They move with unhurried grace, not because they must, but because the rhythm of the island naturally invites slowness. Everything in Atlantis seems measured, not by clocks, but by breath. A quiet bell rings from somewhere deeper in the city, a thin, pure note that expands into the air like the soft ripples a single pebble makes when dropped into calm water. The sound is not a command. It does not signal urgency. It simply marks the beginning of the island's day, a sound the city has heard through uncounted cycles of sun and moon. Your boat touches a stone landing, a small carved platform at the base of the first terrace. The stone beneath your feet is warm already, as if it has been waiting through the night to feel the touch of morning. You step onto the terrace, and Atlantis welcomes you. The air around you hums softly, not with machinery, not with voices, but with something subtler, the blend of earth, water, and ancient resonance. Some say the city was built around veins of crystal that carried sound like woven threads, amplifying the natural hum of the island into a soft, soothing frequency that settled over every street and garden. Whether this is myth or truth, the effect is real. You feel it, a deep calm flowing through your chest, loosening everything from within. Paths curve gently upward between gardens. Tall reeds sway lightly in the breeze, their tips catching the morning light and glowing like strands of gold thread. The plants here are unlike those of the world you know. Their leaves shimmer with faint color, blue, silver, pale green, as if touched by moonlight even in the day. Flowers unfurl slowly as you walk past pools of still water that reflect the sky so perfectly they appear like windows to another world. The Atlanteans tended their gardens not merely for beauty, but for balance. Each plant was chosen for its fragrance, its calming properties, its ability to harmonize with the surrounding elements. It was said that walking through these gardens could ease sorrow, quiet a troubled mind, even inspire visions in those who walked with open hearts. A warm breeze brushes your face, carrying the faint scent of jasmine and something sweeter. A fragrance you cannot name, but recognize instantly as belonging to a place you were meant to find. Far above, the temple of Poseidon crowns the sacred hill. It shines with a brilliance that does not come only from sunlight. Its marble is inlaid with veins of precious metal, silver that catches the dawn and redirects it along the curves of the terraces in soft, glowing pathways. Long ago, the temple served as the spiritual heart of the island. The Atlanteans did not worship their gods with fear or desperation. They worshipped with gratitude, with steady breath, with offerings of simplicity. Seawater, grains, carved shells, symbols of the harmony they sought to maintain. You watch as the sunlight reaches the base of the temple and begins to climb upward, lighting pillar after pillar, each one etched with spirals representing the cycles of the world. The sight is almost hypnotic. You feel your body growing heavier, not with exhaustion, but with deepening calm. For a moment it feels as though you are walking not toward a city, but into a dream you once had long ago, a dream you are finally remembering. A soft sound draws your attention. From a nearby courtyard, a pair of Atlantean musicians sit beneath a flowering tree, playing gentle morning instruments. One plucks a lyre with strings that shimmer like water under moonlight. Another plays a flute carved from polished stone, its tone low and warm, like wind moving through an ancient cave. Their melodies intertwine in slow, wandering patterns that feel as natural as breathing. The music does not demand attention. It invites you to drift. The city is waking. You sense it in the way light expands across the terraces like a blessing, in the way birds emerge from quiet nests, in the soft murmurs of early voices carried by the warm air. A mother calls to her child with a tone so gentle that even the morning wind seems to pause to listen. A man sweeps stone steps, not hurriedly, but with calm devotion, as though clearing dust from a sacred path. A group of young scholars walk toward a shaded hall, scrolls tucked under their arms, their conversation soft and thoughtful. No one rushes, no one pushes. The pace of Atlantis follows the rhythm of life, not the pressure of time. As you move deeper into the city, the light grows stronger, and the stone under your feet glows with faint rose-gold warmth. For a moment you pause on a terrace overlooking the entire harbor. The sight takes your breath gently away. From here you can see the layered rings of the island stretching behind you in perfect balance. You can see boats drifting calmly along canals that shimmer like liquid glass. You can see towers rising gracefully from the heart of the city, their pale surfaces catching the morning light and transforming it into soft halos of gold. And just beyond the outer ring, the endless sea, calm, silver, ancient, cradles the island as though holding a precious memory between careful hands. This is Atlantis, not lost, not ruined, but alive in its full beauty. This is the Golden Isle, the heart of a forgotten age, a world built in harmony with the earth and sea. And as the wind moves gently past you, warm and fragrant, you feel the subtle truth that ancient storytellers always hinted at. This world was not merely built. It was grown. From intention, from balance, from the quiet wisdom of people who understood that life is not something to conquer, but something to move with. You step forward again, drawn towards the heart of the island. Ahead lies the second terrace, deeper gardens, halls of knowledge, and beyond them, the great temple itself. Atlantis calls you inward, toward its luminous center. The path that curves upward from the first terrace is smooth and warm beneath your feet, as if the stone itself has held the memory of sunlight from countless mornings before this one. The air carries a quiet hum, not of machinery, not of voices, but the gentle resonance of a city built in harmony with the earth that cradles it. As you take your first steps deeper into Atlantis, you notice that the world here moves differently. There is no rush, no urgency, no restless energy pressing against the edges of the day. Instead, there is rhythm, a soft pulse, a way of being that seems to match the rise and fall of the ocean surrounding the island. You follow a curving walkway lined with pale stone balustrades. Silver-leafed plants sway softly on either side, their long, delicate fronds catching the light and trembling gently when the breeze passes through. Ahead, a group of Atlanteans walk slowly along the path in the opposite direction. Two elders, dressed in loose linen garments the color of warm clay, walk beside a younger man carrying a carved wooden tablet. As they pass, they greet you with a calm nod, not surprised, not questioning, as if your presence here is neither strange nor unexpected. The Atlanteans carry themselves with a quiet confidence, a serene posture that suggests they understand their place in the world not as conquerors. Birds rest on carved posts, their feathers shimmering in the light. Children run along stone paths, their laughter soft and light, like morning wind touching chimes. A fisherman sits by the water's edge, mending a net with the slow patience of one who understands that the sea offers its gifts not to those who rush, but to those who respect its rhythm. His hands move steadily, thread looping, pulling, tying. Each motion is a ritual of care, honoring the deep water that sustains the island. You move on, letting the tranquil world of Atlantis fill you with a deeper calm. Finally, as you near the broad steps leading to the sacred hill, you notice a young girl sitting alone beside a shallow pool. She watches the water as though expecting it to speak. The pool reflects the sky above, a bright dawn sky that shifts slowly with the rising sun. The girl looks at you with clear, thoughtful eyes. Do you hear it? She asks quietly. Her voice is soft, barely above the whisper of the breeze. You listen. At first, there is only the hum of resonance that fills the island. Then, beneath it, another sound emerges, a faint musical tone rising from the water itself, as if the pool carries the memory of waves from a time before the city was built. The girl smiles when she sees recognition in your eyes. The island speaks. She says, "We just have to be quiet enough to hear it." Footsteps sound behind you. A man, her father perhaps, calls her gently. She rises, gives you a final small smile, and walks into the sunlight. You watch her go, her steps light, her spirit bright, and in that moment you understand something that historians could never quite express. Atlantis was not great because of its wealth, its power, or its knowledge. It was great because its people lived in harmony with the world, with the sea, with the land, with each other. And as you stand at the base of the sacred hill, feeling the warm stone beneath your feet and the soft wind brushing your skin, you realize this place is not just a city. It is a way of being, a way the world once remembered, and perhaps a way the world longs to remember again. Ahead, the first steps leading up the sacred hill await you. At the top stands the Temple of Poseidon, the heart of Atlantis, where truth and legend intertwine, and where the next chapter of your journey will unfold. The steps leading toward the sacred hill rise gently in front of you, wide and smooth, carved from pale stone that glows softly under the warm light of morning. Each step feels deliberate, as if inviting you not simply to climb, but to ascend, not just in height, but in understanding. The air grows quieter as you rise, not empty but serene, the sound of the city below softening into a distant, comforting hum. With every step, the resonance of Atlantis deepens, a low, steady vibration that seems to pulse through the stone itself, echoing faintly in your chest. When you reach the first landing, you pause. From here, the entire lower city stretches behind you like an unfolding tapestry. Rings of water catching the sunlight, gardens fanning out in spirals, terraces arranged in harmonious lines that reflect the balance at the heart of Atlantean life. Above you, the Temple of Poseidon rises slowly into view. It is even more magnificent than you imagined from afar. Tall pillars, smooth as river stone, stand in rows that rise like the trunks of ancient trees. Their surfaces shimmer faintly with inlaid metals, silver, bronze, electrum, each placed to catch the sun and redirect it along the curves of the temple in flowing paths of warm gold. The temple's roof stretches high, broad and symmetrical, its edges carved with spirals that symbolize the eternal movement of water, the cycles of the world, and the balance between sea and land. This was not merely a place of worship. It was the heart of Atlantis, a place where kings gathered in council, where architects traced the future shapes of the island, where healers studied the energies of the earth, and where the people came not out of fear, but out of reverence for the harmony that sustained their world. As you ascend the next stairway, you feel the air grow cooler, gently touched by the shadows cast by the towering pillars. Soft footsteps approach from behind. An elder priest, dressed in robes woven from fine, sand-colored cloth, walks slowly towards the steps. His hair is long and silver, his eyes warm, carrying a depth of calm that seems to radiate from the very center of him. He regards you with a look that is neither surprised nor questioning, only welcoming. "You walk with the morning," he says softly. His voice carries the resonance of someone who has spoken to the sea far longer than you have been alive. You nod, though he expects no explanation. "The temple is open," he continues, gesturing with an elegant sweep of his hand. "Enter without worry. This place meets all travelers with gentleness." He steps aside, allowing you to continue. As you climb, the fragrance of ancient incense drifts through the air, a soothing blend of warm tree resin and crushed mountain herbs carried on a light breeze. Small chimes hang between two pillars, barely moving, yet releasing soft, delicate tones whenever the morning wind brushes past them. You reach the wide entrance. The massive doorways stand open, not guarded, not closed, but inviting, as though the temple understands that only those who seek harmony will approach. Inside, the space is vast. The ceiling rises high above you, supported by columns so tall that the tops fade into soft shadow. Light pours in through narrow openings in the roof, forming beams that drift gently downward like shafts of golden mist. The stone beneath your feet is cool and smooth, and each step echoes softly, creating a gentle rhythm that feels almost like a heartbeat. Around the edges of the hall, Atlantean symbols are carved into the stone, spirals, circles, wave patterns, and lines that flow like water. These symbols tell stories older than recorded history, stories not merely of gods and kings, but of the cycles of nature, the movement of the stars, the lessons the world offers if one listens closely. At the center of the hall stands the great statue of Poseidon. It is carved from a single piece of stone, so luminous it seems to glow from within. Not harshly, but like moonlight resting on polished marble. The god's form is strong, yet serene. A reminder that power and peace are not opposites, but two aspects of the same essence. At his feet, a shallow pool of water circles the statue, perfectly still. The water reflects the entire hall, the pillars, the carvings, the soft beams of light, as though holding a memory of the world above it. You step closer to the pool, and when you look into it, you see not only the reflection of the temple ceiling, but faint patterns of light glimmering beneath the surface. Ancient stories say that the pool was formed around a natural spring that existed long before the temple was built, a point where the energy of the earth rose gently to meet the sky. The Atlanteans believed that water, when held in stillness, revealed truth, not the truth of facts, but the truth of harmony. You kneel beside the pool, drawn to its calm surface. The elder priest, who has quietly followed you into the hall, stands behind you. "Atlantis," he says softly, "was built on balance, not perfection. Balance." His voice echoes gently between the pillars. "Strength does not endure without wisdom. Power does not endure without compassion. A city does not endure without harmony." He touches the edge of the pool with one long, steady finger. A ripple forms, small at first, then widening in gentle circles. "These rings," he says, watching the ripple expand, "are our symbol. They remind us that every choice we make moves outward into the world." The ripple fades, and the water becomes still again. The priest steps back, leaving you alone with the quiet and the light. You feel the peace of the temple settling over you like a warm cloak. You stand and walk slowly along the central path toward a raised platform at the north end of the hall. On the platform lies a massive stone tablet, etched with symbols so old their meanings are known only to the deepest scholars of Atlantis. The carvings tell the story of the island's founding. Long ago, the people who became the Atlanteans were wanderers, travelers who crossed vast distances, following a star that shone brighter than any other. The star led them to an island rising from the sea, an island shaped by the forces of fire beneath and water around. Here they found springs that ran with pure, warm water and stones that vibrated with a resonance unlike any they had known. They understood the island not as a conquest, but as a gift, and so they built their city not by carving into the earth with force, but by working with it, shaping terraces that followed the natural curves of the land, building channels that guided water in gentle, harmonious paths. The temple became the center of their world, a place where they gathered not just to pray, but to understand themselves, to understand the world, to understand the delicate balance that let life flourish. As you continue to read the carvings, a warm presence draws near. His hair is long and silver, his eyes warm, carrying a depth of calm that seems to radiate from the very center of him. He regards you with a look that is neither surprised nor questioning, only welcoming. "You walk with the morning," he says softly. His voice carries the resonance of someone who has spoken to the sea far longer than you have been alive. You nod, though he expects no explanation. The temple is open. He continues, gesturing with an elegant sweep of his hand. "Enter without worry. This place meets all travelers with gentleness." He steps aside, allowing you to continue. As you climb, the fragrance of ancient incense drifts through the air, a soothing blend of warm tree resin and crushed mountain herbs carried on a light breeze. Small chimes hang between two pillars, barely moving, yet releasing soft, delicate tones whenever the morning wind brushes past them. You reach the wide entrance. The massive doorways stand open, not guarded, not closed, but inviting, as though the temple understands that only those who seek harmony will approach. Inside, the space is vast. The ceiling rises high above you, supported by columns so tall that the tops fade into soft shadow. Light pours in through narrow openings in the roof, forming beams that drift gently downward like shafts of golden mist. The stone beneath your feet is cool and smooth, and each step echoes softly, creating a gentle rhythm that feels almost like a heartbeat. Around the edges of the hall, Atlantean symbols are carved into the stone, spirals, circles, wave patterns, and lines that flow like water. These symbols tell stories older than recorded history, stories not merely of gods and kings, but of the cycles of nature, the movement of the stars, the lessons the world offers if one listens closely. At the center of the hall stands the great statue of Poseidon. It is carved from a single piece of stone, so luminous it seems to glow from within. Not harshly, but like moonlight resting on polished marble. The god's form is strong, yet serene. A reminder that power and peace are not opposites, but two aspects of the same essence. At his feet, a shallow pool of water circles the statue, perfectly still. The water reflects the entire hall, the pillars, the carvings, the soft beams of light, as though holding a memory of the world above it. You step closer to the pool, and when you look into it, you see not only the reflection of the temple ceiling, but faint patterns of light glimmering beneath the surface. Ancient stories say that the pool was formed around a natural spring that existed long before the temple was built, a point where the energy of the earth rose gently to meet the sky. The Atlanteans believed that water, when held in stillness, revealed truth, not the truth of facts, but the truth of harmony. You kneel beside the pool, drawn to its calm surface. The elder priest, who has quietly followed you into the hall, stands behind you. Atlantis, he says softly, was built on balance, not perfection. Balance. His voice echoes gently between the pillars. Strength does not endure without wisdom. Power does not endure without compassion. A city does not endure without harmony. He touches the edge of the pool with one long, steady finger. A ripple forms, small at first, then widening in gentle circles. These rings, he says, watching the ripple expand, are our symbol. They remind us that every choice we make moves outward into the world. The ripple fades, and the water becomes still again. The priest steps back, leaving you alone with the quiet and the light. You feel the peace of the temple settling over you like a warm cloak. You stand and walk slowly along the central path toward a raised platform at the north end of the hall. On the platform lies a massive stone tablet, etched with symbols so old their meanings are known only to the deepest scholars of Atlantis. The carvings tell the story of the island's founding. Long ago, the people who became the Atlanteans were wanderers, travelers who crossed vast distances, following a star that shone brighter than any other. The star led them to an island rising from the sea, an island shaped by the forces of fire beneath and water around. Here they found springs that ran with pure, warm water, and stones that vibrated with a resonance unlike any they had known. They understood the island not as a conquest, but as a gift, and so they built their city not by carving into the earth with force, but by working with it, shaping terraces that followed the natural curves of the land, building channels that guided water in gentle, harmonious paths. The temple became the center of their world, a place where they gathered not just to pray, but to understand themselves, to understand the world, to understand the delicate balance that let life flourish. As you continue to read the carvings, a warm presence draws near. One draws a diagram of water channels and terraces with careful strokes, a brow furrowed in concentration. An elder stands beside them, pointing to the drawing. "See how the water must flow," the elder says, his voice calm and instructional. "It must move with ease, never forced, never trapped. Water teaches us more about balance than any scroll can." His students nod slowly, absorbing the wisdom beneath the lesson. You leave them with their scrolls, their morning learning already shaping the future of Atlantis. Following the scent of warm bread and fresh herbs, you arrive at a communal square where families gather to share breakfast. Benches carved from smooth stone circle a low table offering fruits, grains, and flat loaves scented with honey. You notice how freely the Atlanteans share food. There is no rush, no hoarding, no scarcity. Children sit beside elders, families sit beside strangers, and all eat together beneath the soft warmth of the rising sun. A young baker, hands dusted with flour, offers you a small, warm loaf. "Take it," he says with a smile. "Morning food brings morning strength." The bread is soft, sweet with the lightest touch of honey, and warm enough to soothe your body as the day unfolds. You thank him and continue through the square, feeling the nourishment settle gently into your chest. Ahead, A wide set of steps leads to the Hall of Knowledge, a long, elegant structure lined with tall windows that catch the sun and scatter it into rainbow glimmers across the marble floor. Inside, scholars walk quietly between shelves of scrolls and carved tablets. Some read silently. Others discuss ideas in soft, thoughtful tones. A teacher sits with a group of students around a circular pool of water, tracing symbols in the air that appear briefly as glowing lines. The symbols hover, shimmering softly, before fading like ripples on the pool's surface. "These are the cycles," the teacher explains. "The rise and fall of tides, of lives, of civilizations. Water remembers, and so must we." The students watch the glowing symbols with patient curiosity, their breaths steady, their bodies relaxed. You step through the hall and out into another garden, a quiet sanctuary surrounded by fruit trees whose branches bend under the weight of soft, sweet fruit. In the center of the garden, a healer tends to a small grove of blue-leafed plants. She moves among them with deep reverence, touching each leaf lightly as though greeting an old friend. A man sits nearby, eyes closed, while the healer prepares a small bowl of fragrant herbs. She places the bowl beside him and speaks in a gentle whisper. "Breathe with the plants," she says. "Let the island lend you its calm." The man inhales deeply, his posture softening. Peace settles over him like warm light. You walk past the grove and step once more onto the terrace. The day has grown late morning bright now. Birds soar overhead with effortless grace, their long shadows gliding across the stone below. In the distance, the harbor shimmers. Boats come and go in slow, steady rhythms. Children laugh. Elders speak softly in shaded alcoves. Merchants arrange their goods with gentle care. Everywhere you look, the city lives in perfect balance. Each person moving with intention, each element of the island working in harmony. It becomes clear to you that Atlantis is not simply a city. It is a philosophy, a way of inhabiting the world with respect, with gratitude, with steadiness. And you have become part of that rhythm now. You feel your breath match the breeze, your heartbeat match the hum beneath the stone. It is as though the island has welcomed you into its ancient cadence. You walk slowly toward the next terrace, where the city's golden age will unfold before you. An age of balance, beauty, and gentle wisdom. The day in Atlantis has only just begun, and you are ready to walk deeper into its heart. You move into the highest of the living terraces, a broad, sunlit expanse where the heart of Atlantean society reveals itself in its fullest form. Here the stone is lighter in color, almost white, reflecting the warm glow of the sun in soft, golden hues. The air feels different, still calm, still gentle, but charged with an underlying sense of purpose. The quiet confidence of a civilization living in perfect balance with its wisdom. This terrace is known among the Atlanteans as the Circle of Peace. It is the place where the island's people live their lives, not in struggle, but in the fullness of their prosperity. You pause at its edge and watch the world unfold before you. A wide, open plaza stretches out, paved with smooth, shimmering tiles arranged in circular patterns that echo the rings of the island. In the center of the plaza stands a graceful fountain, not tall, not imposing, but long and low, sending thin sheets of water down polished stone faces into shallow basins. The water gathers sunlight, turning it into sparkling ribbons that dance across the surface in quiet, mesmerizing rhythms. Atlanteans pass by the fountain without urgency, families, merchants, healers, and scholars mingling with natural ease. No one rushes, no one pushes. Life moves at the measured pace of breath and tide. A group of musicians sits beneath a tall canopy. Their instruments, harps of silver wood, flutes carved from pale stone, and soft-skinned drums, release a gentle, flowing melody that drifts through the plaza like a warm breeze. The music seems to speak without words, of gratitude, of joy, of the quiet wonder of simply existing in harmony. As you walk deeper into the plaza, you notice that the Atlanteans' clothing reflects their philosophy as well. They wear loose garments woven from soft fibers, the colors gentle, drawn from the natural palette of the island. Pale blues, golden creams, warm earth tones. Nothing here is loud. Nothing strives to overshadow. Each color, each shape, each movement exists in balance with the world around it. A woman carrying a basket of fruit passes by you. The fruit glows with vibrant color, deep red, bright orange, soft lavender. Yet the woman's smile is the brightest thing she carries. She stops beside a small stand where an elder sits, carving intricate symbols into small wooden tablets. With a warm greeting, she places the fruit into a bowl the elder offers, and the two speak softly about the coming festival, a celebration meant to honor the turning of the season. You continue walking and come upon a long corridor lined with open archways. Through each archway, you glimpse different facets of Atlantean life at its peak. In one space, children sit in a circle around a storyteller. The elder's voice is low and melodic, his hands moving with gentle gestures as he weaves tales of the earliest days of the island, when the sea shaped the land, and the land shaped the people. The children listen with wide eyes, their breaths deep and steady, as if the story itself is lulling them into a calm wonder. In another archway, healers mix tinctures from herbs grown in the sacred gardens. They grind petals and leaves with smooth stone tools, mixing them with water drawn from the pure springs that flow beneath the island. Their work is precise, but never rushed. They speak softly among themselves as they prepare remedies meant not only to heal the body, but to restore balance to the soul. Farther along, a group of scholars sits under a lattice of vines, the sunlight filtering through in soft, trembling patterns. They study scrolls filled with diagrams of stars, ocean currents, and cycles of the seasons. A teacher traces a constellation in the air with a slender rod, and the constellation briefly appears as a glowing arc above the students' heads. In every movement of the heavens, he says calmly, there is a pattern, and in every pattern, a lesson. The students nod, absorbing the wisdom as naturally as they breathe. You leave the corridor and follow a path toward a long terrace overlooking the harbor. Here, you find a gathering of artisans shaping materials that shimmer like captured starlight. One craftsman works with a crystal so clear it seems to hold a piece of the sky within it. Another shapes metal that glows faintly as he bends it into a smooth, looping band. A third uses pigments mixed from minerals to paint swirling patterns on a large ceramic bowl. You realize, with a gentle sense of awe, that nothing in Atlantis is created without intention. Every object holds meaning, a story, a memory, a purpose. A woman nearby examines a small sculpture being carved from a translucent stone that glows softly in the sunlight. The sculpture resembles a spiral shell, a symbol of life's unfolding cycles. She turns it carefully in her hands, her face serene, her appreciation deep and sincere. This is the essence of Atlantean prosperity. not wealth for its own sake, but the abundance that naturally arises when a civilization lives in balance with the world around it. Peace here is not merely the absence of conflict. It is a presence, a living, breathing rhythm woven into every part of daily life. The Atlanteans eat well, they rest well, they create without haste, they learn without fear, they grow without greed. Their golden age is not the dazzling glory often described in myths and legends. It is quiet, it is steady, it is harmonious, and as you walk among them, with the soft music drifting across the plaza and the warm air carrying the scent of distant flowers, you feel the weight of their peace settling gently over you. Time here feels different, not slower but fuller. Each moment expands, unfolding with the kind of richness found only when the mind is truly at rest. You walk toward the edge of the terrace and rest your hands on the smooth stone railing. Below, the city spreads out in perfect concentric circles. Boats drift along the water channels like fallen petals carried by a gentle stream. The sea beyond the outer ring glistens softly, its surface calm, its color deep and steady. This is the Atlantis Plato described. This is the Atlantis sailors whispered about. This is the Atlantis that lived in the hearts of those who dreamed of a world built on wisdom rather than domination. You close your eyes, letting the sounds of the island wash over you. Soft conversation, gentle laughter, flowing water, wind through leaves, distant chimes, the unfailing hum at the heart of the city. You breathe deeply, your whole body sinking into the rhythm of this ancient world. Atlantis in its golden age is not simply peaceful. It is whole, a complete expression of harmony between humans, nature, and the unseen forces that shape existence. You sense, in a way that bypasses thought, that the Atlanteans built their world not as a monument to themselves, but as an offering to the balance of life. And for a moment you understand something profound. If the world could ever return to such a state, not through power, not through conquest, but through tenderness and wisdom, then harmony would once again be the natural state of humanity. You open your eyes. The terrace glows gently under the sun. The people move like living poetry, and the city breathes around you with the softness of a dream that knows it is real. The golden age stretches before you, its calm beauty endless. But deep in the air, faint, delicate, almost imperceptible, a change waits. Not yet a shadow, not yet a warning, just a subtle shift in the island's ancient harmony, a whisper of imbalance that only those attuned to the heartbeat of the world can sense. You, now part of this world, feel it. A soft tension, a small dissonance like a single string slightly out of tune. It does not disturb the beauty. Not yet, but it foreshadows what must eventually come. Still, Atlantis remains radiant before you, and your journey is far from over. For a time, the golden age of Atlantis feels endless, a warm, glowing horizon where every hour unfolds gently, like a flower opening beneath morning light. But nothing in the world, not even the most harmonious civilization, remains unchanged forever. The first signs were not dramatic. They were not sudden storms or frightening omens or trembling earth. The change came softly, so softly that only those who listened closely to the heartbeat of the island could hear it. You begin to sense it now, not as a warning, but as a shift, a faint, delicate tension beneath the calm surface of the day. It reveals itself first in the quiet spaces of Atlantis. Where the hum of resonance once vibrated perfectly through the stone, you feel a slight irregularity, as if a note in the great harmony has grown faintly sharp. The sound is still beautiful, the rhythm still peaceful, but something inside it has begun to drift. You walk through the terraces as the sun climbs gently across the sky, and you begin to notice small moments that would be invisible to anyone rushing through the world. Two elders at a marketplace stall discuss a trade agreement with voices just a little too firm, not angry, not harsh, but edged with a subtle defensiveness rarely heard in Atlantis. A young artisan waits impatiently for a turn at a carving tool, his foot tapping lightly against the stone floor, a gesture of restlessness uncommon among the island's people. Three scholars, usually quiet in their discussions, speak more quickly than usual, their thoughts racing ahead instead of flowing naturally. None of these moments is wrong, none is alarming, but together they form a faint, persistent echo of something shifting inside the city's heart. You continue along the path, seeking the source of the subtle imbalance, and your steps lead you back toward the Hall of Knowledge. Inside, the hall glows with soft, filtered light as scholars gather around a series of newly drawn diagrams. These diagrams show harbor expansions, new terraces, and larger aqueducts, plans for a grander Atlantis. Normally, Atlantean architectural designs follow the principles of balance, working with the natural shape of the land, never pushing beyond what the earth offers freely. But these new drawings reach outward, beyond the current boundaries, seeking more territory, more resources, more prominence. A young architect explains the plans with excitement in his voice. We could double the harbor, increase our fleet, trade across the entire ocean. A murmur runs through the hall. Some listeners nod, their eyes alight with possibility. Others look quietly uneasy. The elder architect, whose hair is the color of late sunlight, rests a gentle hand on the young man's shoulder. His voice is calm but firm. We must ask, he says, not only what we can build, but whether we should. The sea gives us space, but it also gives us limits. The young man lowers his gaze, but the spark in his eyes does not disappear. You step outside the hall, and the warm afternoon air brushes against your face. The sky is still blue, the city still peaceful, but the subtle shift continues to form small eddies in the harmony, like soft ripples where the water was once perfectly still. On the next terrace, you find a gathering near the council house. The council house in Atlantis is not a place of heated argument, but a quiet hall where leaders meet to guide the balance of the island. Yet today, the air inside feels thicker. Voices are still calm, but carry a tension rarely heard here. We owe it to our people to expand our reach, one counselor says in a controlled, measured tone. We have knowledge, technology, resources. Why should we limit ourselves to this island alone? Another counselor, older, with lines carved gently into her face by decades of sun and laughter, shakes her head. Because the island sustains us. She replies softly. Because balance matters more than ambition. Because our ancestors gave us this world to protect, not to exhaust. That may have been true once, the first counselor says, his voice tightening slightly. But now, you do not stay to hear the rest. The words linger in the air behind you, carrying the weight of a new kind of desire growing in Atlantis. Not malicious, not reckless, just human. Ambition, for the first time in generations, has begun to stir. You walk toward the harbor and watch the fishermen preparing to cast off for the afternoon tide. Yet even here, you notice the shift. Two fishermen speak quietly beside their boats. The waters are changing, one says, frowning slightly. The cod are schooling farther out. The tides feel stronger than they should at this time of year. His companion nods slowly. Perhaps the island shifts again, he says. It has done so before, but this feels heavier. None of these subtle changes would trouble an outsider. None would alarm a traveler who did not know the island. But you do. You have begun to hear the deep heartbeat of Atlantis. You have walked through its peace, its harmony, its breath. And now you can sense the faint hesitation in that breath. The island itself feels slightly tense, as if listening for something not yet spoken. You walk into a quiet garden to rest and reflect. The trees sway gently, their silver leaves rustling softly in the breeze. A small group of healers tends to the plants, whispering to them as they prune and water their roots. One healer looks up at you. Her eyes carry a calm deeper than most. You feel it, she says softly. You do not need to answer. She dips her hand into a bowl of cool water and lets the droplets fall onto the soil beside her. The world shifts in cycles. She continues. Sometimes the shift is gentle, sometimes it is sharp. Our island has known both. She places her hand on the trunk of a young tree. This time, she murmurs, the shift begins in the people. She smiles softly. But it is only the beginning. Only a whisper. A question. Not an answer. She returns to her work, and you leave the garden with her words echoing faintly inside you. The sun begins to lower towards the horizon, casting long, warm shadows across the terraces. The city glows beautifully in the evening light, yet beneath the beauty lies a subtle tension, a hint of imbalance that grows clearer now that you have seen it. Two children argue softly over a carved toy dolphin. A merchant hesitates before giving a fair measure of fruit. A builder frowns at a stone that does not align as perfectly as he wishes. Small things, tiny things, ripples. Yet you know, as the Atlanteans once knew, that even the softest ripple can widen across the water. The golden age is still radiant. The city still breathes with warmth and harmony. But the first hairline cracks have begun to form, not in the stone, not in the sea, but in the hearts of the people. And you, standing at the edge of the great harbour as the sun dips toward twilight, understand a truth older than Atlantis itself. Every great civilization faces a moment when it must choose between wisdom and desire. Atlantis has just stepped into that moment. The sun lowers, the air cools, dusk settles softly over the island. Night will bring clarity. Night will bring dreams. Night will bring answers yet unseen. The sun has slipped beneath the horizon, leaving behind a band of warm red light that glows faintly on the edge of the sky, a lingering breath of day that slowly softens into dusk. Atlantis in this moment is both awake and asleep, a city balanced between day and night, between memory and dream, between what it is and what it will soon become. Yet tonight there is no fear, no storm clouds, no trembling earth, no sound of distant warning. Tonight is quiet, still, gentle, a perfect night in a world that does not yet know it is witnessing its final dusk. You stand on a high balcony overlooking the harbour. The water reflects the dimming sky like a vast pool of polished glass. Lights flicker across the terraces, not harsh flames, but small, warm lanterns set on windowsills, hung from tall posts, placed beside stone steps to guide the peaceful rhythms of the night. The city breathes softly. Voices drift upward from the lower rings. Soft conversation, laughter carried on the breeze, the quiet songs of fishermen returning with their catch. You listen, letting the sounds settle inside you like warm light, spreading through quiet rooms. There is no sign that this night is different from any other. No sign that the balance of the world has shifted too far. Only stillness, only peace. You descend the steps and walk into the heart of the island as evening deepens. The marketplace, so lively in the morning, now glows in soft amber light. Stalls are empty, their goods neatly packed away behind woven curtains. Merchants sit together in small circles, sharing bread, fruit, and stories of the day. A group of children runs across the stone square, their laughter echoing lightly as fireflies begin to rise from the nearby gardens. The fireflies shimmer with delicate golden light, floating upward as though rising toward the stars. An elder sits on a bench, watching the fireflies with a serene smile. He looks at you as you pass and gestures gently for you to sit beside him. You do. For a long moment, you both watch the glowing insects weave their quiet tapestry in the air. Finally, the elder speaks. "Night in Atlantis," he whispers, "is when the world remembers its softness." He folds his hands in his lap. During the day, people carry tasks, thoughts, ambitions, but at night we return to what is simple. You nod softly. Words are not needed. The elder continues. When we forget simplicity, the world begins to wobble. Just a little at first. Barely enough to notice. He gazes at the sky. But the island notices. The sea notices. Everything notices. His voice carries the weight of someone who has spent many nights listening to the truth hidden beneath silence. You leave him with a gentle bow and continue your walk. The second terrace is quiet tonight. The music hall's still, the learning rooms softly lantern-lit but empty. A pair of scholars sits by the water channel, their feet dangling above the slow-moving current. They speak in low tones about the tides, the shifting stars, the slight changes they've observed in the island's resonance. Their voices are calm, not fearful, but contemplative. You pass them quietly and move toward the sacred hill. The path is lined with lanterns that sway gently in the warm evening breeze. The temple of Poseidon glows softly at the top, its pillars tinted rose gold in the last remnants of twilight. As you climb the steps, you notice something unusual. The hum of the temple, normally deep, steady, a perfect note beneath the city, feels slightly strained, still beautiful, still calming, but tinged with a subtle discord, like a harp string just barely out of tune. Inside, the temple is almost empty. Only 2 priests remain, tending to the inner sanctum. One arranges offerings, bowls of water, shells, fresh leaves collected from the sacred grove. Another kneels by the central pool, gently running his hand across the still surface. The pool reflects the pillars and the ceiling with perfect clarity. Yet as you watch, you see faint ripples move across the water, not caused by the priest, not caused by wind. A natural shift, tiny, barely visible, but real. The elder priest rises and looks toward you. He recognizes the question in your eyes before you can speak it. The island is listening. He says simply. You step closer. The balance is fragile. He continues softly. It always has been. We have lived many long cycles in harmony. But now, he touches the water again. The world stirs, and we must listen. There is sadness in his voice, not fear, not panic, just the deep awareness of someone who has watched the cycles of the earth turn for countless seasons. He bows his head to the pool and whispers a quiet blessing. You leave him in silence and walk back down the temple steps into the warm, darkening night. The stars begin to appear overhead, one by one, soft points of light woven into the sky like delicate beads. The moon rises slowly over the eastern horizon, casting pale silver light across the harbour. The water reflects the moon so perfectly that the sky seems doubled, one above, one below. You walk through the harbour district, now lit by lanterns that sway like soft, glowing orbs. Fishermen finish securing their boats. Parents call their children inside. A gentle lullaby drifts through an open window, sung in a voice warm and tender enough to calm even the restless sea. The scent of night-blooming flowers fills the air, sweet, gentle, carried by warm wind moving through the lower terraces. You pause near a shallow reflecting pool where a group of young Atlanteans sit in meditation. They sit in a circle, eyes closed, hands resting lightly on their knees. Their breaths rise and fall in unison, synchronizing with the soft hum that still resonates through the island. One of them opens her eyes as you pass. She smiles faintly. "Tonight feels different," she whispers. You nod. She closes her eyes again and returns to the quiet rhythm of her breath. You walk farther, feeling the subtle shift in the air around you. The night remains peaceful, beautiful even. But beneath the peace, something deeper stirs. A faint trembling that is not physical. A whisper that is not heard aloud. The island remembers something. The sea remembers something. And the people, though unaware, stand at the edge of a great turning. You step into a small courtyard and sit on a stone bench beneath a tree whose leaves glow faintly in the moonlight. You listen. To the city, to the sea, to your breath. And slowly, the truth of the night reveals itself to you. This is the last night of Atlantis. Not because disaster must come, not because fate demands it, but because cycles turn, and even the greatest harmony must one day shift. But tonight is not a night of destruction. Not yet. Tonight is a night of beauty. A final, perfect breath before the world changes. You close your eyes, letting the peace of the island flow into you one last time. The soft wind, the warm lanterns, the gentle hum, the distant laughter, the calm sea. Atlantis sleeps, wrapped in a blanket of warmth and serenity. Tomorrow the world will begin to turn. But tonight belongs to peace. Night deepens. The sky above Atlantis is now a velvet expanse studded with quiet stars, each one a patient witness to the slow turning of the world. The moon hangs high, casting a silver path across the harbour waters, turning every ripple into a long, soft shimmer. The city has settled fully into rest. Lanterns glow in doorways, curtains drift lightly in the breeze, dogs curl at the feet of their sleeping owners. A child clutches a carved wooden dolphin and dreams of swimming with it beyond the far horizon. From the highest terrace, the temple of Poseidon watches over everything, its pillars pale in the moonlight, its inner pool still and deep, reflecting the stars as though it holds a piece of the night sky within its heart. In homes across the island, Atlanteans lie in sleep as gentle as the sea around them. Mothers, fathers, children, elders, artisans, scholars, sailors, healers, all breathing in the same slow rhythm, their chests rising and falling like waves touching the shore and retreating again. The hum of the island, that deep, ancient resonance echoing through stone and soil continues, steady, calm, like a lullaby hummed by the earth itself. But beneath it something begins to change, not abruptly, not violently, as softly as a thought, as gently as a dream turning from one scene into another. Far beneath Atlantis, in the dark, warm places where the roots of the island touch the molten heart of the world. Pressure shifts. The earth moves, not in anger but in adjustment, as it has done many times before. A slow breath in, a slow breath out. Stone stretches, water listens, the sea feels it first. In the quiet depths far below the harbour, currents stir. Currents that have been steady for centuries tilt by the smallest degree. Fish change their paths. Clouds of silver scales turn as one and glide in new directions toward new waters. Above them, the surface remains calm. The boats at anchor rock almost imperceptibly. A lantern hanging from a mast swings a little more widely than the breeze alone can account for, its light tracing a slow arc against the dark. In the temple of Poseidon, the water in the central pool ripples once, just once, like an eye opening and closing. The elder priest, who has chosen to remain awake this night, watches the pool with soft, knowing eyes. He feels the change not as fear, but as recognition. He rests his hand on the stone beside him. So, he whispers to no one and to everything. The cycle turns again. He closes his eyes. His lips move in a prayer without petition, not asking for rescue, not asking for reversal, but offering gratitude. Gratitude for the long years of peace. Gratitude for the island's gift. Gratitude for the chance to have lived inside such harmony. Outside, the sea draws a slightly deeper breath. The great ocean swells, far beyond the sight of any human eye, rising in slow, immense silence. It is not a crashing wave. It is not a roaring wall of water. It is a long, smooth lifting, as though the sea itself has decided to hold Atlantis a little closer to its heart. On the outermost ring of the island, the waterline creeps higher by the width of a fingertip. A sleeping fisherman turns in his bed, sensing only a vague, comforting motion as his boat rocks gently against its mooring. The hum of the island shifts in tone, barely, a fraction deeper, a shade slower. The stone remembers every tremor it has ever known. It understands this. The island does not panic. It adjusts. But the adjustment this time will be more than a minor change. Far beneath the city, the earth sighs, a long, low exhale that has been building for longer than anyone can remember. Tiny fractures that have slept for ages begin to open again. Warm water from deep below rises through unseen channels, meeting cooler layers above. The meeting is gentle, but powerful. The sea feels it. The island feels it. The hum changes again, a breath lower, a note more distant. In their sleep, some Atlanteans dream of water. Not of drowning, not of fear. They dream of floating, of being held, of lying in a boundless sea where there is no weight, no effort, no edge. The dream is calm, soothing, warm. The outer harbour, bathed in silver light, swells almost imperceptibly. Water climbs the stone edges by another finger's width. The boats rise with it, anchored yet lifted. A faint sound shivers through the night. Not a crash, not a roar, but a very low, distant murmur from deep within the earth. It passes through the foundations of homes, along the roots of trees, through the stones of the terraces, into the pillars of the temple. For a moment, every object in Atlantis vibrates in unison. Then the sound fades, leaving behind an even deeper quiet. The elder priest in the temple presses his palm to the floor. "Thank you," he whispers. A small crack appears in the stone near the harbour. So small it could be mistaken for an ordinary imperfection. Water finds it, slowly, curiously, like a stream of curious fingers exploring a new path. It trickles inward, then downward, slipping into the hidden spaces beneath the island. The sea rises again, Not quickly, not destructively, just steadily. The outer ring of land sinks by the height of a single grain of sand. The inner rings follow. The city does not crumble. It settles, like a great ship gently lowering itself into deeper water. Lantern flames flicker as the air moves in new currents. A child stirs in sleep, then relaxes again, sighing into the pillow. The island hum changes once more, softening, slowing, as if preparing for rest. You feel it. You stand in a narrow walkway between gardens, the moonlight painting silver patterns across the stone. You feel the shift as a subtle drop beneath your feet, a sinking that is not frightening, but strangely natural. Your body sways as if on a boat. Your mind remains calm. You know, in a way that transcends explanation, that Atlantis is not being destroyed. It is returning to the element that first cradled it, returning to the sea from which its people drew so much of their wisdom. The water continues its slow, embracing rise. The lower terraces begin to flood, not with crashing waves, but with creeping, glimmering sheets of water that slide over the stone like liquid glass. Gardens near the harbor disappear beneath a shallow, shimmering layer. Lanterns reflect twice now, once in the air, once in the water. A fruit bowl left outside a door floats gently as the water lifts it. Inside the homes, the Atlanteans still sleep. If they awaken, they do so only briefly, to the gentle rocking sensation, to the faint song of the sea humming closer and closer. A mother opens her eyes, feels the soft shifting of the floor beneath her, and simply pulls her child closer, trusting the world she has always known. She does not know that the world itself is changing around her. The temple stands as the water rises slowly up the sacred hill. Columns catch the moonlight and shine like tall, pale flames. The pool inside overflows, the water sliding silently over the edge onto the floor. The elder priest remains kneeling, his robe soaking up the water. His eyes are closed. When the first small wave touches the steps of the temple, he smiles. "Things return," he whispers. The water climbs. Terraces disappear one by one beneath the gleaming surface. Gardens are swallowed, but their plants do not resist. Roots release. Leaves drift, glowing softly under the moon as they are carried away. Streets become canals. Courtyards become shallow lakes. Homes become silent islands in a deepening sea. But there is no chaos, no panic, no cries of terror, only stillness, only the sound of the island sinking slowly, steadily, peacefully back into the ocean's embrace. You stand at the water's edge on the highest terrace still dry. The sea has climbed to meet your feet. It is warm. It curls around your ankles with the gentlest caress, like a familiar friend offering you a hand. You look out. The rings of Atlantis are still visible, faint lines of lighter color beneath the rising water. Then they blur. Then they fade. The city does not vanish in an instant. It dissolves. The boundaries soften. The sharp edges disappear. Stone, garden, stair, wall, tower, all become part of the same great, glimmering whole. The hum of the island echoes one last time, a deep, resonant note that vibrates through the water, through your bones, through the night. Then it grows quiet, totally quiet. For a long moment the world holds its breath. Sea and sky appear to merge into one vast, boundless expanse. Atlantis is gone, but not destroyed. It has simply returned to memory, returned to myth, returned to the deep, unwritten archives of the ocean, and yet it remains, not as stone, not as streets, not as towers, but as a feeling, a resonance, a faint eternal echo of a place that once existed in perfect balance. You close your eyes and listen. Beneath the quiet, you still hear it, the softest trace of Atlantean harmony woven into the sound of the sea. It is not lost, it is carried, in waves, in dreams, in stories whispered at night beneath unfamiliar stars. You, standing on what feels now like the surface of the water itself, feel your body grow lighter. The lines between sea and sky blur, the horizon softens, your thoughts loosen, floating gently like lanterns on a quiet tide. Atlantis sinks, you drift, and the story prepares to carry you into deeper, timeless sleep. The sea is quiet now, a vast, endless calm stretching in every direction, smooth as silk, soft as moonlight on warm skin. The last ripples fade, the last echoes settle, the last traces of stone sink gently into the deep. Atlantis is gone from sight, but not from memory, and not from you. You stand, or perhaps float, on the edge of a world that has surrendered itself to the quiet embrace of the ocean. The air around you is cool and fragrant, carrying the faint scent of night-blooming flowers from a city that now sleeps beneath the waves. Above, the stars shine brighter than before, as if they have taken up the responsibility of remembering what the sea has reclaimed. The moon hangs low, casting a wide silver road across the water, a path you feel yourself drifting along, carried by nothing and held by everything. Your breath slows, your thoughts soften, your body loosens its hold on the weight of the day. There is no urgency, no expectation, no world demanding anything from you, only calm, deep, ancient calm. As you drift, the surface of the sea beneath you begins to glow faintly. Soft blues, gentle greens, whispers of gold flickering like distant lanterns. It is as though the memory of Atlantis has risen through the water, not as buildings or sound, but as light. Light that does not illuminate, but comforts. Light that does not draw attention, but soothes. Light that still remembers the gardens, the temples, the laughter of children, the hum of stone, the harmony that once held the island in perfect balance. You feel that harmony now. It wraps around you like a warm blanket, light as breath, steady as tide. Your heartbeat slows to match the rhythm of the sea. In, out, and with each breath, Atlantis drifts deeper into your inner world, into the quiet place where dreams begin. The glowing water around you softens further, until it resembles a sky beneath a sky. A mirror of stars, a cradle of gentle light. You move with no effort, guided only by peace. Memories of the island float toward you like soft petals on water. A child running along a terrace, a fisherman humming by the shore, a healer tending her silver-leaf grove, a scholar tracing constellations in the air, an elder telling stories by lamplight, a priest whispering blessings into still water, the temple shimmering at dawn. These images drift into you without sound, without weight, only the emotional warmth of a place where harmony once lived fully. Nothing pulls you back, nothing pushes you ahead. You drift exactly where you need to drift. The ocean rises around your senses like a soft mist, cool and comforting, carrying you deeper into quiet. Your eyelids feel heavy, your breath gentle, your thoughts float apart like small boats set loose on calm water. No story needs to continue, no image needs to sharpen. Everything expands, softens, slows. As Atlantis dissolves into myth, you dissolve into rest. The sea beneath you becomes softer, thicker, like a warm cloud holding your entire body. You sink, not downward but inward, into a place below thought, below sound, below the waking world. The stars blur, the moon softens, the horizon melts into a single field of silver-blue quiet. Your breath is the tide, Your heartbeat is the hum of the ancient island. Your mind is open water receiving peace. Atlantis is gone. Atlantis is everywhere. Atlantis is inside you now. Its calm, its balance, its timeless stillness woven into your breath. Let go. Let yourself drift. There is nothing to do, nothing to remember, nothing to hold, nothing to reach. You are floating. You are safe. You are carried. The world grows softer, more distant, more tender. Allow yourself to sink into this moment like the island sank into the sea. Not with fear, not with struggle, but with complete surrender to calm. Let the warmth surround you. Let the quiet deepen. Let the last traces of thought fade like lanterns moving slowly into the dark. Sleep is not coming. Sleep is already here, rising around you, lifting you, holding you gently as you drift into timeless rest. This is your Atlantis now, the stillness, the warmth, the peace that waits beneath all things. Drift there, rest there. You are safe, you are quiet, you are home. The water closes softly around you, the stars dim, the world becomes velvet dark, and you sleep, deeply, gently, endlessly,